Hi guys.
Hey guys.
Welcome back. I know it's been a while, but here we are, and we are so happy to be here. We missed you, and we hope you missed us. And Kathy has a story for us today, and I'm not sure what it is, but she did drop some hints.
I did.
We'll see.
Just
Let's get into it.
Okay. Hey guys! Oh my god, I'm so excited to be here. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Today, I'm going to be telling you guys about the real story that inspired the movie The Exorcist. Do you get it now? Like the night
Yes.
gown,
Okay.
the cross?
Yes. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I was hoping that's what we were doing, and I was like, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this all started in 1949. So it was based on an actual child's exorcism.
Whoa.
And, yeah, the child's identity was protected throughout the years, like in the media. So articles would have him listed as Roland Doe or Robbie Mannheim for decades. And his identity, however, was known among like certain people within the Jesuit community, like the priests involved and their inner circle, as well as investigators and academics that were involved at the time.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. And the real exorcism, it was supposed to be kept top secret, but eventually it did get out. The first time it was published was in an article on the Washington Post
Whoa.
from 1949 titled "Priest Frees Mount Rainier Boy Reportedly Held in Devil's Grip." Ooh. So we'll call him Roland, and he was an only child to German Lutheran parents. He was like 13 when this happened, and he lived in the suburbs in Cottage City, Maryland.
Oh wow.
And his former friends and like that knew him growing up described him as like kind of hyper, high-strung, kind of an intense person. Not necessarily like a bad kid, just like a lot of energy. He did kind of start freaking people out towards like later, but not initially. And his Aunt Tilly, she dabbled in spiritualism, and we go into spiritualism in another video if you want to watch it.
Oh, the Fox sisters.
The Fox sisters, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about it in the Fox sisters video. But basically it's the belief that when you die, you go into the spiritual world, and we are able to communicate with those spirits through mediumship. And so
That's cool that she was into it.
Yeah. And for his birthday, Roland asked for a Ouija board, and so she got him a Ouija board, and they played with it and did a few sessions. And that's people think that the Ouija board is the reason why he got possessed. Like that's what invited him. That's what people.
Whoa, that's crazy that this is real.
I know.
Why? This sounds like a scary movie.
Dude, it feels like a scary movie.
Oh.
On January 15, 1949, Roland's mom hears scratches on the wall, and so they had an exterminator come out because they were like, oh my gosh, it's some mice. And so they came and did a thorough search, but they didn't find anything. And so, yeah. And initially the mom thought that Roland was just messing with her, but then like she came to the conclusion eventually that he wasn't, and that the house is actually haunted.
Ooh.
And 11 days after the scratching noises occur, his Aunt Tilly dies. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. I thought she was gonna help him.
I know. No, she died. And then after her death, they start hearing a bunch of noises like all around the house. Like it sounds like there's somebody marching upstairs towards Roland's room. They hear bangs on the wall, and it's like super creepy, obviously.
Ooh.
And the mom is there one night, and she's like, Tilly, if it's you, knock on the door 3 times. And so they hear a knock 3 times. And she was like, okay, it's Tilly. But then she was like, if it's Tilly, why would she be like tormenting him, you know? And so they quickly changed their minds about that. Yeah, and according to the mom, at first things would be peaceful, like when they would get ready for bed and everything. But then things would get crazy downstairs, like dishes would be like flying around, and chairs would be spinning. And this would happen almost every night when Roland went to bed.
Whoa.
I know.
What?
No.
Chairs would be spinning?
Yeah, like on their own.
That's so scary.
I know. And then in Roland, so that would be going on downstairs. And then upstairs in Roland's room, the bed would like start to shake. These instances where the headboard was like bouncing against the wall, and the mattress was like shaking up and down aggressively, really harsh.
Oh no.
And then it's just this skinny little 13-year-old boy. Like obviously he doesn't have the strength to move it like that, and he's not moving it, you know?
That's so scary. What the hell?
I know. And he would wake up in the middle of the night thrashing, talking in this like weird guttural voice.
Whoa.
Yeah. And people that went to school with him and like parents started getting kind of freaked out too because they lived like within the neighborhood. And so the people that were walking by, they would like hear the yelling and the noises coming from the house, you know? It was creepy. It was creeping them out.
That's so scary.
I know. And then when he would be in school, like his books and papers would like fly off his desk like across the room, and the teachers thought that it was him doing it because he's like a crazy kid, you know? Like he's not a crazy kid, but he's like high strung and stuff, lots of energy, kind of like rambunctious. So they thought it was him. So they would blame him, and then everybody thought he was weird as hell, and so he eventually just stopped going to school for the time.
I can't imagine going through something like that and not being supported, like, especially as a child.
Yeah.
At school or at home. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, absolutely it does.
That's so scary. And what's his name again?
Roland.
Poor Roland.
I know. What a creepy, scary thing to have to go through, and then for people to think that you're doing it, you know?
Yeah.
In February 1949, he is being rattled awake with these like really intense nightmares and fits like every single night, and he would be like contorting in pain. Yeah, it was probably like really difficult for the parents to witness all of this. And so they ended up deciding to take him to the doctor. They were like, they were wondering if he had epilepsy or something. And so they take him to the doctor, and there's nothing wrong. Like there's nothing physically wrong with the kid. And so they're like, okay, so they take him to a psychologist and a psychiatrist as well. They can't find anything. And so they're like, okay, down.
Oh, that's so scary.
Yeah. From there, the parents consult their pastor, Reverend Luther Miles Schulze, at St. Stephen's Evangelical Lutheran Church. And this guy, he happened to be super into parapsychology, and so he was like, I wonder if it's a poltergeist, which is like if there's like residual energy somewhere, it'll make things like it'll make objects move or like lights turn on and off, things like that.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so he was like, I wonder if it's a poltergeist. Schulze wanted to observe Roland outside of the home to see if that would change things, and so he was like, come over to my house and spend the night. And so the parents were like, okay. And so he goes over there, and everything is fine, like everything is just normal. They probably had a little snack, getting ready, and they got ready for bed. But then it's like almost as soon as the lights go off, it starts to pop off. Like the bed starts to shake. So at first he thinks it's Roland, then he's like, oh my gosh, it's not him. And so he has him go and sit across the room. There's an armchair. He's like, go sit in the armchair. So he goes, and then the armchair starts to shake violently, and he falls off. Like it tips over and Roland falls off. And the Reverend is like, okay, go lay down on. So he had a mattress on the floor, and he was like, lay down on the mattress. Then the mattress starts to shake, and so it's just like super scary and intense. And the next morning, Roland's condition gets worse. According to the Reverend, 3 scratches appeared on his chest. And at that point, he was like, okay, it's not a poltergeist. And he tells the parents that maybe they should go somewhere else to get help, like with somebody that's more well-equipped to handle something.
That's creepy.
I know.
He's like, I want nothing to do with this,
actually.
I think I'm actually good. That would be me.
So from there, the parents reach out to Father Albert Hughes. He's a local Catholic priest, and he agrees to help them. So he comes over to the house, and he later said that the temperature in Roland's room was so freaking cold that like he could see his breath. And also at one point he saw a phone slide across the desk on its own. And apparently Roland, when the priest came in, he was like, why bother me, you priest of hell? And he was like saying a bunch of profanities.
But like, why would the demon say priest of hell? That is kind of funny.
Priest of hell. So from there, Father Hughes decides to go see the Archbishop to ask him if he can perform an exorcism, and the Archbishop ends up agreeing. So sometime between February and March of 1949, Father Hughes admits Roland to Georgetown Hospital, which is in Washington, D.C., under an alias. Yeah, he puts him in there, and he's in the psychiatric ward, and they have him like strapped to a bed. Father Hughes goes over and does the exorcism, or so within the Catholic Church, an exorcism is essentially like prayers, you know?
Yeah.
And so he starts to read from the Bible. There was an eyewitness account from a nurse that was there who said that Roland slid out of of his thing restraints, and he grabbed one of the metal springs from the mattress, like the ones they had in the 1950s. He cut one out, which that's a lot of strength. Like those things were like in there, you know.
You ripped it out?
He ripped it out
with his bare hands?
Yeah, and then he cut the reverend from his shoulder to his wrist, and he ended up needing 100 stitches. Yeah, and people said that he wasn't right after that. Like he was just like his arm never worked the same way, and he just was like deeply disturbed after that. Yeah.
Whoa.
Ah!
Oh my god. That is so scary.
I know. And Roland ended up getting discharged from the hospital because it's like, what do you do, you know, at a hospital? Like,
yeah. What can they do?
What can they do? Yeah.
They can't do anything for him.
Yeah. And bloody scratches, so they sent him home. He was discharged and he went home. And bloody scratches appeared on his chest, and it seemed to spell out Lewis. And so the family thought that meant that whatever was in him wanted him to go to St. Louis.
Oh.
And they had family there. And they were at the end of the rope. Like, they literally had tried everything they could think of.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to, like, help their boy. And so they were like, let's go. So they go. And they weren't, like, super rich or anything. But they uprooted their entire lives. And they went over to St. Louis.
Wow.
Because the dad's brother, which would be Roland's uncle, lived there.
Wow.
Yeah. And
this poor family also.
I know. Imagine. Could you freaking imagine?
It's horrible. They just want to help their baby.
I know. So when they arrived, everything seemed okay. Like, they got settled in. They probably had dinner together. But as soon as Roland went to bed that night, things immediately started happening. He started yelling and, like, freaking out and crying. And, like, things were flying all over the place. Like, everybody was just, like, oh my god. Like, it's just a regular family with a 13-year-old boy, you know, getting all crazy.
Yeah.
And his cousin at the time, she was in college.
Mm-hmm. His uncle's daughter?
Oh. Yeah, so his cousin.
Mm-hmm.
She was going to St. Louis University at the time. She was also a devout Catholic. And so she went to go see her professor, who was Father Raymond Bishop.
No.
We don't know him. But he's a good
Oh, I was like,
no, he's just like one of the main people.
Okay. I was like, can this man not get a break? Like, he has 10 or 11 stitches in his arm.
No, not that one, no. 100 stitches.
100?
Yeah, 100, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So his cousin, she was really, like, disturbed, obviously, by the whole thing. And so she went to her professor, Father Raymond Bishop, and she sat him down and she told him everything. She was really stressed out about it, and she was like, I just think that there's something, like, more serious going on. What?
It's just funny the way you announced it. The way you announced it made me feel like I had to have a reaction. Father Raymond Bishop. I was like, that's so funny.
So she sits down with Father Raymond Bishop, and she tells him everything about Roland. She's just, like, stressed out about it. Can you come check this out? And so Father Bishop is like, okay, I'll come help. And so on March 11th, 1949, he comes over to the relative's house along with Father William Bowdern. And as Roland is getting ready for bed, Father Bowdern starts reading the prayers out loud. And nothing happened. Like, they continued to pray and still nothing happened. And so they were like, okay, it must have worked. So they leave. But then as soon as he leaves, there's these, like, loud noises that are coming from his room.
Oh, no.
And then a bottle of water, holy water, on the nightstand was hurled across the room, shattering everywhere.
Whoa. Holy water?
And from there, Father Bowdern concluded that he was possessed, or that, you know, that there was something going on. He, however, didn't know much about exorcisms, and so he went and referred to the book called The Roman Ritual, which is a 17th century Catholic book. It's part of a series, and in it has a bunch of prayers, and it has instructions for an exorcism.
Oh.
So he was looking at it, and the church wanted him to prove that Roland was actually possessed. And according to the Catholic Church, there's 4 different categories for demonic activity. The first is a demonic infestation, so that would be like the presence of evil within like a location or an object. Number 2 is demonic vexation, which is someone believes they're experiencing like demonic attacks from a demon. Number 3 is demonic obsession, so it's like mental attacks. And the final one, the 4th, is demonic possession, where the demon actually takes control over the person's body. Yeah.
Creepy.
I know.
I'm scared.
Yeah, I'm a little scared too.
This poor kid, dude.
I know. And up to this point, Roland had reportedly experienced the first 3, and so the goal was to prevent the final stage, the possession.
Oh, no.
I know. Isn't that so creepy to think
I really
about?
hate that.
Yeah. And so, following the church protocol, he reached out to Archbishop Joseph Ritter from St. Louis, and he requested an exorcism for Roland. But he was like, I don't want to do the exorcism, I'm just requesting that somebody does it. And the Archbishop was like, you have to do it yourself.
Oh.
And they give you permission.
Oh, he's like, I'm good, I think.
I'm good. I actually don't want to do this. I feel like that's so real, and that would have been me.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Your eyeshadow looks phenomenal.
Thank you.
I love that color.
Thank
that is so
you.
pretty.
So on March 16th, 1949, Father Bowdern shows up to Roland's house to do the very first exorcism. And Father Raymond Bishop is there, as well as Walter Holleran, who at the time was a seminary student. So they all go together. They're probably so scared, but they're determined, and so they go. And Father Bowdern was like, I don't want you guys telling anybody about this, but I do want you to keep a diary. And so Father Bishop kept the diary.
Oh.
And at the time, it was meant to be used as like a how-to manual, because at the time there wasn't, like for the Catholic Church. They had the Roman ritual, but it wasn't like, it was just like prayers.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so Father Bowdern got all ready for the exorcism. He got like all the like religious items. He got himself prepared. He got like the holy water, the crucifix. He also got his long purple stole ready, which is like that long purple scarf that they wear.
Yeah.
And then the Roman ritual.
Oh.
And per the diary, Father Bowdern screamed as bloody scratches appeared on Roland's body. Quote, these scratches caused red marks on the body and caused a small amount of blood to flow. Roland recoiled under the evident pain as each mark was made.
That's so scary and sad.
So obviously there's the, like, you know, an exorcism, a Catholic exorcism is praying. And then there's also like where the priest puts the hand on the person's head invoking the Holy Spirit. The purpose is to get the demon to reveal itself. And so that's what they're doing. They're trying to get Roland's demon to reveal itself. And the demon is fighting back. Like, this is like an intense demon. So he's like all the religious relics are knocked off and the energy is just so intense in there. And the word hell appears on Roland's body, like it was branded on him.
Oh, no. That's so scary.
I know, dude. And it almost seemed like if the words were coming from like inside of him, like they were coming like from like inside within, coming up towards the surface. And it was all like red and rash-like. I know, dude. And the priests were keeping a really close eye on him. He never became unbound, and so they were never self-inflicted.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. Exactly. So there's no way that this kid could have done it himself. Manifestations like those are meant to incite fear, and incite fear they did. You know, and I would be scared too. So this went on for almost 9 hours, you guys. The priest just kept on praying.
9 hours?
Yeah. That's something that's so crazy, because a lot of the times, like, the movies obviously don't display that, but exorcisms can take, like, it can be a lot of exorcisms that are required, not just one, like 20 or 30.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, like, it's crazy. And also, I don't know how I feel about exorcisms, actually.
Yeah.
But, like,
they're so odd.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
After 9 hours of this, Roland collapsed and he fell asleep. And Father Bowdern thought that, like, after this, Father Bowdern thought that the possession didn't really take in until the first exorcism. The first exorcism provoked the demon into staying, type of thing. Yeah, and that's when they realized that it would take much more than just that night to get rid of whatever that was.
Oh, that's so creepy and scary.
I know.
It doesn't feel real.
I know.
It feels, that's like just so scary.
I know. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre that you like don't really want it to be real.
Yeah. Big time.
Scary as hell. So March 18th, 1949.
Yes.
This is 2 nights after the exorcism, and Roland is acting normal.
Mm-hmm.
And so the family's like, okay, I think it actually worked. Then the night came, and all hell broke loose again.
Okay.
His mood changed, and things started to move around on their own. And so the priest came over, and he's like snarling, and he's like biting the man who's holding him, which I'm assuming is his uncle.
Oh,
He's acting
no.
all crazy. So Father Bowdern and Father Bishop, they start pinning down religious relics on Roland's pillow, hoping that helps. So I'm guessing it's like crosses and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
And so he does that, and then suddenly Roland gets really, really nauseous, and he was acting like he was gonna throw up. And he was like, I think the demon is ready to come out of me. Can you please open up the window? And so they open up the window, and Roland threw up. So like literally and figuratively, expelling this demon, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's an excerpt from the diary about this. It says, Roland says sweetly, he's going. Finally, there he goes, and fell asleep. Yeah. And so the priests were like, okay, cool, it worked. And so they leave thinking the demon was purged. And then right after that, there's another quote from the diary saying, about 2 a.m., Roland felt strange sensations in his stomach, and in a few moments he began to cry out fearfully, he's coming back.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I know. And so from there, the parents call Father Bowdern, and he comes over at like 3 a.m. and he does an exorcism, and he just like continues to do them from there. It's just like, fuck.
Poor Roland.
I know.
That sucks. And they all thought it was over.
Literally, I know. And so it's day 5, so it's March 20th. And at this point, Roland is still staying with his family, like with his uncle and stuff. And they're still hoping that Father Bowdern can help. And in the interview, there's a guy that interviewed Father Holleran, who at the time was a seminary student, who was like helping, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he told him about a time where he was with Roland at the end of Roland's bed, and he saw the whole bed levitate 8 inches off the ground and then slam back down again. Yeah. And it was also rumored that the levitation was witnessed by people outside of the priest's inner circle and stuff. So it wasn't just like these people that were reporting this, but other people too.
Whoa.
Yeah. And at this time, Roland's family invited a scientist and mathematician named Frank Bubb to come over and study him to see if he could help. And here's a newspaper clipping of him. Here's a picture of the guy. Here's a picture of him with the 2 priests.
Oh, wow.
And Frank Bubb, he worked on the Manhattan Project, which, if you don't know what that is, it was this like top secret government project that worked to create the first atomic bombs during World War II.
Oh.
And it resulted in 2 atomic bombs being dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August of 1945, and it killed more than 140,000 people. So he helped create that.
Ew.
Yeah, and to put that into perspective, Gaza is 60% smaller than Hiroshima, but as of July, Israel has dropped 6 times more bombs in Gaza compared to with the atomic bomb dropped in World War II in 1945. And the most recent resource that I could find stated that Israel has dropped 75,000 tons of bombs in Gaza. And Gaza is 25 miles long. That's a lot of bombs.
Yeah. It's a small piece of land.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
So we'll get back to the story. Bob, who worked on the Manhattan Project, he went to visit Roland, and he was deeply disturbed. He was like, apparently he saw a nightstand levitate, and he was like, we have so much to discover about electromagnetism. I was like, yes, okay. So Roland, at this point, he's still staying with his family, like with his uncle and everything. So Father Bishop and Father Bowdern think that maybe it's a good idea to move him somewhere else to see if that helps at all. And so on March 23rd, they transferred him to the rectory at St. Francis Xavier College Church on the campus of St. Louis University. And people were freaked out because, like, in the rectory where he was staying, they would have the windows open.
Mm-hmm.
And so at night, people would hear him, like, screaming and shrieking, and all the lights would be on, and, like, it was scary for the students, like, walking home. Could you imagine walking home back to your dorm?
It's like, on top of that, like, people aren't talking about it, and then imagine being young and having to, like, walk past that. Like, that must have been so scary.
Yeah, like, having no point of reference to be like, this keeps you safe, or this is what's happening. And the priest kept a detailed diary of what happened throughout the time at the rectory. And Father Bishop wrote that Roland was displaying signs of possession, like, superhuman strength. Like, there would be, like, 3 men constantly having to hold him down. But Father Bowdern still continued to try to help him and stuff, so he would be like praying and stuff.
Wow.
And yeah, and he is insane. Like he is like really strong, and so he was swinging around, and one time he punched Father Halloran in the face and broke his nose.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so since moving him to the rectory didn't do anything, they decided to take him back to the house, like to the relative's house. And this was 11 days since the exorcism started. Yeah, for some reason nothing happened the first 5 days that he was there. Like everything was just fine. But then one night came, and Roland told his family that he wanted to write, and so Roland's uncle was an architect, and so he had those large white sheets of paper, you know? They gave him one, and he wrote like all these like weird messages and stuff and words, and they called the priest again for help to try to decipher these messages. One of the messages said, "I will stay 10 days, but will reveal after the 4 days are up. I am the devil himself."
Oh.
I know. So yeah, and then they were trying to figure out what it meant, and Father Bishop thought that meant that he would be possessed for 10 days. And then, so yeah, they just kept working on it. On day 17, they were 12 exorcisms in, and they were like, maybe we should baptize the boy as Catholic, because he was raised Lutheran. Like, the baptism would also serve as like an exorcism.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so they were like, okay, so the parents agreed. And
whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
They're willing to do anything.
Yeah, literally. German Lutheran, but like willing to do anything to help the little boy.
Their kid, yeah.
So Roland's parents agreed to it, and then for some reason it was his aunt and his uncle driving him there that day. And he was in the back seat and everything was fine. And then out of nowhere, he starts having this fit. And he goes into a rage and he jumps in the front and he tries to take control of the steering wheel.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and he was like, he said, you're gonna try to baptize me? You're gonna try to offer me communion? It's not gonna work.
Whoa.
Ooh, that's so creepy.
That's so scary.
I know. And his uncle like pulls over. Eventually they do get him over to the church though, and they have the baptism. Still 3 men are holding him down, and it's like super intense.
Oh.
And then 3 days later, Father Bowdern suggests that the family go back to Maryland, and he was like, I'll look for like a monastery or a hospital that's willing to take him. And so they go down there. At this point, Roland is really, really thin. And so he's like, I think he needs to get like actual medical attention.
Oh.
And so, yeah, so they go, and he, like, nobody wants to help, like, nobody wants to take the case. Medical or religious, because they just didn't want to. It just was, like, so scary.
Yeah.
And so he was like, okay, let's go back to St. Louis and we'll try to save him there. Yeah. And so on April 10th, 1949, he took Roland to the Alexian Brothers Hospital and admitted him to the psych ward. And at the time, it was run by an ancient order of Catholic monks, and they had a reputation for taking care of really extreme cases of mental distress. And it was like a very secure, very private, like, psych ward, and they were known for their privacy. And so they go. And this was after 3 weeks of unsuccessful exorcisms, by the way.
Wow.
He goes, and it's the start of Holy Week. And for Catholics, Holy Week is like a really important time. Like, it's the time before Easter, and there's like a bunch of like celebrations and like ceremonies and stuff commemorating Christ. And normally it's a really happy week, but it was horrible for the priests that were involved, you know, during that week. And Troy Taylor, he did an interview with one of the Alexian monks that was present at the night of that exorcism, or those exorcisms. His name was Brother Greg Holowinski, and he broke his vow of silence to talk about this.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's big.
I know, that's so big. So he was this really cute man, but like after 65 years, he had cancer and he was dying, and he just wanted to like tell his story, you know?
Oh, wow.
And so he was this really cute man. He had these like big glasses and like the little classic comb over, and he said, the first night I went up there was a boy laying in bed. There were 3 priests that were the exorcists. During the prayers of the possession, the priest wears a stole. It's a fine silk ribbon. Now the devil, using the boy's hand, reached over and snatched it, and within a split second, it was 1,000 threads. You could feel the powers of the devil. I saw the boy's body levitate. End quote.
Whoa.
I know. And then he told the story of one day where he was sitting at the foot of the bed holding onto Roland's ankles, and he started to levitate. Like, Roland started to levitate. He said, I was frightened. What I saw was real. What I touched was real. It was an experience that I would never forget. And then he tells the story about April 27th, the second night that Roland was there. He said that the devil threw a decanter at the wall and it smashed into 1,000 little pieces. And he was like, I've been through tornadoes and hurricanes and this was much worse than anything I've ever experienced.
Whoa.
Isn't that insane?
That's so scary.
Yeah. A few days before Easter, Father Holland, he decides to take Roland to an outdoor retreat center overlooking the Mississippi River. It's this like religious retreat center, and it has this path, and within the path there's like these like gorgeous stone statues of Jesus, like depicting him like holding the cross and like going over to be crucified. And with each statue there's like a little plaque that talks about what's happening in the story, you know?
Oh.
And so Roland is walking with the priests. He seems to be really interested in each plaque and like each statue and everything. And here's a couple pictures of them.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they're walking, and then they come to the 14th station, and that's where Jesus is placed, like, in the tomb. And Roland then starts to have a fit, and then he starts having a seizure. Yeah, and then he runs off, and he's, like, running, and Father Halloran runs after him, and he's running towards the edge of the river. Of the cliff, I mean.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So Father Halloran eventually tackles him to the floor, and then Roland snaps out of it, and he forgets. He had like no recollection of what happened. Yeah, he doesn't remember it at all. And Roland from there just gets worse and worse, like his condition just worsens. Father Bowdern, he's not doing too hot either. Like he was stressed and he was tired.
Yeah.
And these like weird, gross, oozing boils appeared all over his body.
What?
Yeah.
The Reverend?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
Yeah. And during this time, Father Bowdern and all the other priests, like, they were fasting a lot while praying. And so they had lost a ton of weight.
Oh.
I think Father Bowdern lost, like, 40 pounds during this.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I know, it's a lot of weight.
That's so scary.
I know. So one day, but like, despite all of this, Father Bowdern just continues to help him, like, just a really sweet, like, selfless type of love, you know? So on April 17th, 1949, it was Holy Saturday, so it was the day before Sunday, and before Easter, and a monk placed a statue of Archangel Michael in Roland's room. And Saint Michael, the Archangel, is a protector of all kinds. He's often depicted as a dragon slayer. So they started praying to Saint Michael, and these prayers seemed to be effective. Like, these prayers were, like, he was reacting different to these prayers. And so it seemed to actually work. And now the final report of the exorcism is locked away in the Roman Catholic archives. But there's been a lot of speculation about the truth. Ultimately, he was fine, though. He ended up going to a Catholic high school and remained in the Catholic faith. I'll refrain from using his real name because he obviously didn't want to be attached to it, so there's no point. But he actually became a NASA engineer, and he patented a special technology that helped us get to the moon in 1969.
What?
Yeah, he ended up working for NASA.
Roland?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, isn't that nuts? He got married, he had several children, he named his first child Michael. He never talked about this publicly.
Why do you think he didn't ever talk about it publicly? Do you think because he was just like...
I'll tell you.
Okay.
I'll tell you. The document... Did I mention already that I watched a really cool documentary about this?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. According to the documentary, he had a good love life, he had a good life, and he never looked back, like it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I found a couple other articles that didn't quite agree with that. One of them was a 2021 article from The Guardian titled "Boy Whose Case Inspired the Exorcism is Named by U.S. Magazine." So in this article, there's a quote-unquote companion, one of his quote-unquote companions, a 29-year-old woman. She wished to remain unnamed, and she said that he was always on edge about his NASA colleagues finding out the truth about him.
Whoa.
Like, he was so scared that people would find out that he was, like, the inspiration for The Exorcist. And so he was always stressed about it, and, like, even every Halloween he would leave because he was scared that people would come and, like, know that he was, I don't know what he was afraid of, but he would just leave every Halloween.
Probably because he got bullied when he was a little kid, and
Yeah.
he was so ostracized. Maybe
That's
he
true.
felt like if the truth came out, like, he would be ostracized at work, maybe.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think so too.
it probably gave him so much like grief in his life that he like, I get why he would want to get away like from it.
Yeah, for sure. I get it too.
That's crazy though.
According to the article, he was like estranged from his children, and he just was like just kind of like a stressed out person. I don't know, I want to believe the documentary and just think of him being like happy and good for the rest of his life. Hopefully he was like able to find peace, you know?
Yeah.
So Roland, I know. He retired from NASA in 2001 after like 40 years of working there, and he died of a stroke just a month shy of his 80th birthday in 2020, passing away in his home in Marriottsville, Maryland. Yeah. An interesting side note, in 1978, the psychiatric wing of the Alexian Brother Hospital was scheduled to be torn down, and the construction crew found a room that was locked, and within the room there was a desk, and within the desk there was a diary, which was a copy of Father Bishop's diary of the exorcism, and so that's how the diary was found. Isn't that nuts?
That's insane.
I know. And
what?
I know.
Okay, so the diary was found, and that's how they like came to make The Exorcist.
I think the diary was found, and that's how they found like the perspective.
The stories and
Maybe, no, not necessarily the stories, but like the, you know, like the quotes and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All the quotes.
Wow.
And there's a theory, so there's like a couple conspiracy theories around this story. I'll just be talking about one. There's this guy named Stephen LaChance, and he claims that an unnamed church official gave him access to a medical facility near the Alexian Brothers Hospital, near the old Alexian Brothers Hospital. He tells the story about how he went up to the 4th floor, and it was this like long corridor, and there was nothing up there, like there wasn't like a reception desk or anything, like it was just like this empty place. And at the end there were these 2 double doors, and so he went to open it, but then the person was like, don't. And he was like, why? And the person was like lower down and see. And so he lowers down to the door, or to the bottom of the door, and he hears like items being smashed against the wall and like breaking and stuff. And they were like, do you know where you are? This is where the priest stayed. And he was like, what the hell? So Stephen thinks that the demon left from Roland's body and possessed the priest, and that this place housed the priest until his death in 1983. And according to the named source, that's what happened. Yeah, and like
I have goosebumps right now. Look at my arm. That's so scary.
I know. And people say that it's not uncommon for that to happen, like for the demon to like leave the possessed person and go into the person that's doing the possession.
Yeah, doing the exorcism.
Yeah.
What? Oh no.
So creepy.
I'm so scared. I would never ever go near that.
No.
That
I know.
Does it do you think it's still standing?
No. Oh. No, it's not. No, it's gone. And I want to tell you guys a little bit about the movie, because there was some stuff surrounding the movie as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So initially, before the movie came the book. And William Peter Blatty loosely based his book The Exorcist on this in his book in 1971. He kept newspaper clippings from the Washington Post about this case. To protect Roland's identity and the fact that The Exorcism is based on a true story, he changed a couple things. So Roland became a 12-year-old girl. He changed it so that it would be like a single mom instead of like a family. And Roland's creepy outbursts and the creepy voices, like all of that occurred, but like the ceiling crawl, the head spinning, that obviously didn't happen.
Yeah.
And William Friedkin later directed the movie The Exorcist based on the novel. And this was before digital effects.
Yeah.
So everything had to be manually done.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and they changed the main character's name from Roland to Reagan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And for the effects of seeing the actor's breath, they actually put meat locker air conditioners in the room so to make it really, 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 really cold. And he wouldn't shoot until it was negative 20 degrees or below.
What?
Yeah,
That's
this guy was
insane.
Psycho. But the
oh no.
Yeah, but as soon as the lights came on and the cast would start coming on, like it would start to like warm up again. And so they would only be able to shoot for minutes at a time. And so it took almost 60 days to shoot the exorcism scenes alone.
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
Yeah. And the little girl that played the main character, Reagan, she was named Linda Blair. And everybody on set loved her, and she was such a trooper. Like, they really put her through hell, and I'm so glad there's, like, anti-child labor laws now, you know?
Yeah.
They would have her tied to the bed for hours, like, doing these scenes, and it was below freezing, and the men, they had these, like, ski suits under their costumes, you know? But she just was in a little nightgown, which I'm like, why didn't you put her in a ski suit and then add some ruffles or something? Like, that's so dumb.
That's wild.
Yeah, and the first time they went to film, there was, like, a thin layer of snow because it was so cold. Yeah.
Oh my, that is insane. I didn't know that.
Yeah. The eye contacts on her, like, really irritated her, and so they would use these anesthetic drops to numb her eyes for hours on end.
What?
Yeah. And then the throw-up mechanism that they had for her made it so she couldn't close her mouth. And then, while she was being thrashed around on the bed, her harness came off, and so it was like the metal thing was smashing onto her back, like, over and over again. And so when she was crying for help, that was genuine. Like, she was actually in pain.
Oh,
Yeah.
poor baby.
I know. And
That's insane.
I know, and it gets worse. When
Oh,
Friedkin
no.
wanted her to, like, reach her emotional depths, he would remind her. He was like, remember when your grandpa died recently? Like, Jesus Christ.
Poor baby.
I know. And then after the movie, she got a ton of hate because people thought that she was glorifying Satan, even though she was literally just a 15-year-old girl.
child?
Yeah. And so Warner Bros. Had to get her bodyguards for the first 6 months.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I know. And there were also a lot of deaths surrounding this movie.
Whoa.
Yeah, like, nobody died on set, but these two actors, Jack McGowan and Vasiliki Maliarios, died shortly after finishing their parts in the movie. And then there was the death of a studio night watchman. And so the actor who played the priest, Max von Sydow, his brother died, like, right after, like, or during.
What?
And then the assistant camera's baby died as well as a few others.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then while working on the film, a carpenter lost his thumb, and a light technician, lost one of his toes. And from there, the crew started wondering if the film was cursed. And then a pigeon flew into a circuit box, and the house set burned down. But get this, only Reagan's room was not burned down. Everything else was, but Reagan's room wasn't. Isn't that so creepy? And they had an exorcist come, and, like, a real priest, like, come and do an exorcism there afterwards. And some people believe that the curse followed, like, the story in the film long after it ended. And so the movie comes out on December 26, 1973, the day after Christmas. And people went to see it and flipped out. Dude. They were throwing up, they were fainting, they were freaking out. They were being so dramatic about it. Here's a little clip. Like, it's so good and bad.
God, I was so scared when the bed was shaking and like her back.
She's going up and down.
And then when her voice changed, my God, I've never seen anything like
Did
it.
you see the part where she turns her head around?
Not yet. I'm not gonna see it either.
It's gross. I tell you that.
Yeah.
Man, that is one of the most grossest movies in the world. It is. I ain't never took my coat and hood it over my face like that.
That's crazy. That's funny.
One person actually fainted and she broke her jaw. And then she tried suing Warner Bros. Because she believed there were subliminal messages during the movie that caused her to faint.
Whoa.
Yeah. And Warner Bros. Settled the case outside of the court with her.
Okay.
And I would have loved to be a fly on the wall.
Oh
for
my
that.
gosh,
Like,
imagine.
Imagine. And over the years, the movie did receive a lot of, like, harsh criticisms, but ultimately it became a cult classic. It's now a point of reference. Like, literally everybody knows it. And it was beyond successful. It got, like, 10 Academy Awards, like, and yeah, just super well.
Yeah.
And shortly after the movie came out, there was a spike in people going to Catholic churches and a lot of reports of demonic possessions.
Whoa.
I know. And it's funny because the Catholic Church approved of the movie because it, like, reinforced their whole thing, you know, with the iconography that was used, the belief in the devil. We're like, yes, we want people to be afraid of being possessed. You know? And so they gave it the green light. They were like, yes. So that's the story behind The Exorcist.
Wow.
I know. Isn't that nuts?
That was incredible.
Oh, we're going to finish our makeup. We'll be right back.
back.
We're back. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you like this story. Exorcisms are like my number one, the most that I fear.
Same.
So here I am, fear releasing fear on the night of the full moon in Aquarius. Hello. And I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope you drink water. And if you like it, let us know and leave us a little comment. And thank you so much for being here, and I love you so much. Bye.
Bye.